watching Sunday Morning Matters on KC24, your local election headquarters.
Can you tell me, Senator Bernie Sanders called President Trump a racist in his interview yesterday. Do you believe in those comments?
Yes, so when you do racist things, I think that means you're going to get called racist. And if he wanted to not be viewed as a racist, he could apologize for racist behavior, going back to spreading the birther conspiracy, and maybe try to turn over a new page.
Presidential candidate Pete Buttigieg rolled into Fresno on Monday with rock star style status. Like Senator Bernie Sanders, he did call President Trump a racist, but unlike Sanders, the mayor of South Bend believes the party needs a facelift in order to take down President Trump.
The truth is, we've got to face the fact that this president could absolutely win again. He's unpopular. He deserves to be unpopular. But he could win again. Communities that feel like Democratic and Republican administrations have not been speaking to them. And so we in our party cannot go around promising to turn back the clock to the 2000s or the 90s any more than they can keep a promise to turn back the clock to the 1950s. We've got to do something completely different.
And with that said, I want to welcome in the president of the Fresno Stonewall Democrats, Marsha Conant. And I'll tell you what, Marsha, thanks for being here, by the way. You're making your debut on Sunday Morning Matters. You were part of bringing in Mayor Pete to the Tuolumne Hall meet and greet. Mayor Pete captivated the local Democratic Party, would you say?
It was fabulous.
Yeah.
It was a wonderful day for Fresno Democrats and the LGBT community. He's a very exciting candidate. He's smart. He's innovative. He's interesting. It was a good day.
Did you agree that President Trump, as Mayor Pete said it, can win again if the party doesn't do something different, doesn't have a new face like a Biden, a Bernie Sanders?
I think if we're not careful, he could win again. I think if we don't come together, he could win again. Sadly, because he's been so divisive. But I think whether we have to have a new face or we have to have a strong face and be clearly behind that face is critical. And we have to meet the needs of all of the population. We have to reach out to to middle America.
You know, Mayor Pete is from a small town, South Bend, a lot smaller than Fresno in the Midwest. Did he become relevant, though, in this race? I mean, he came out, was at the Democratic Party convention in the Bay Area. A lot of people are talking about him. He's raising millions and millions of dollars now. He's moving up with approval ratings. Would you say he's ready to take over and become relevant and be up there with Sanders and Biden?
Well, let's throw in some of the women, too. But I think he's very,
but he's
a lot of people appeal.
Harris.
He is.
Yeah.
And there's something sad to be said about three men and the young one coming in, even though I like him very much, and being ahead of all the women. That gets into the misogyny of this country, which Hillary Clinton faced, which is not what we're talking about today. But he's a very exciting candidate. People like him. And maybe not this presidential term, but maybe the next term. Or maybe he's a vice president. I don't know where it's going to be, but I'm really glad he's entered the race.
Well, I know, and I've been hearing this because Elizabeth Warren may be on her way to Fresno. That's something I'm sure you want to see. And you talk about getting behind a woman like Hillary Clinton. Is that what this party needs?
Well, I don't know if it's a woman like Hillary Clinton, but I think it's time that a woman be elected president. I thought it was time a woman was elected president 3 years ago. But we certainly need to pay attention to the fact that there are capable, strong women out there.
Elizabeth Warren coming to Fresno, though? Come on, you can tell us.
Very exciting.
Very exciting. Oh, so she is coming.
No, we hope she's coming.
We hope the invitation is
We
out
hope Kamala's coming. We want them all to come to Fresno.
Yeah. Well, she should. She's a California senator.
She should.
We would hope. Mayor Pete said when he revealed that he was gay in 2015, he won re-election in a landslide that year. But if you think this was like maybe 10 years ago, would Mayor Pete still come out openly gay and run for president, or have times changed that quickly for us?
I think times have changed. But it was only 50 years ago that there were the Stonewall riots. A lot of progress has been made in LGBT rights since that time, but there's still a lot to be done. Most states in this country do not have protection in housing, in employment, for LGBT communities. We are very lucky in California to have that, but the only universal right that we have is the right to marry.
Mayor Pete, he may not win the nomination. It could, you know, everybody still says it's going to be Joe Biden at this point. Would you like to see maybe Mayor Pete as Biden's VP pick?
No.
No?
I personally would like to see him as one of the, an Elizabeth Warren's VP pick, or
Okay.
Kamala Harris's VP pick. Personally.
So, personally, okay, because you're the president of the Fresno Stonewall Democrats, Mayor Pete didn't win the Fresno Stonewall Democrats vote?
We haven't voted for a presidential candidate. Oh, no, I suspect the club may indeed endorse him when we endorse candidates. That won't be for a while.
Last question here. What did this mean for the community to bring him in, specifically the LGBT community?
When he announced, social media just sort of blew up among the gay community, that they never thought that they would live to see that happen. Sort of like when we didn't think that we would see a woman ever nominated for president, if you've been a lifelong feminist. It's huge when these kinds of things happen, as it was huge when Barack Obama announced and he was elected. And he was a young man, and people said that we would never elect a person of color to be president. That wasn't true, was it?
Yeah. Well, good stuff. Marsha, we appreciate it. Thank you so much. Great stuff seeing Mayor Pete here as well. Still to come.